Your son forgot something on Friday morning, so you went up to the school. And
That's
when
right.
you got there, you knew something was amiss, to say
Yes.
the least.
Yes.
What did you see?
There were like 8 or 10 kids who were, running basically towards the firehouse. And I, obviously thought that was odd. But when I got out of the car and started walking towards the building, I noticed a car, in the drop-off area in front of the entrance, like a black hatchback, had all the doors open and like black sweatshirts strewn around it. And again, I thought, well, that's really odd. You don't usually see that at the school. And then I walked to the doorway and there was another mom standing there. And all the while I'm thinking to myself, the building is so quiet. And why is it so quiet? And I said to her, is something going on? And she goes, I don't know, but look. And she pointed and I looked, and next to the door where there's a buzzer, you have to buzz into the building, the whole plate glass window to the right of the door was shattered and there was glass everywhere. And we looked at that and we said, well, this is really strange. And as soon as those words kind of came out of our mouth, we started hearing gunshots. I knew that it was gunfire, but I just ran, I just ran.
You were ushered to safety, you
Yes.
were waiting by the fire truck, and you started to see kids stream out of the building.
Yes.
What were those kids doing?
Well, it was all sorts of things. I mean, first of all, they were amazing in that they were all like staying in a single file line. Their teachers were at the head of the line, classroom aides were kind of strewn in between, and they were walking very quickly, but they were staying in a line, and the teachers were very much, very focused on their jobs. I was so single-mindedly focused on seeing like my son's teacher, because I knew if I saw my son's teacher, then hopefully, God willing, my son would be in that line coming out.
And then you saw him.
And then I saw him. And I saw Daniel, and I knew, I'm like, I don't want to make him hysterical. I don't want him to see me hysterical with relief, that he's there. So I just waited for him to come to me, and then I went over and said, hey Daniel, how are you? He goes, Mom, he's like, what's going on? I'm like, it's just crazy, isn't it? And I gave him a big hug, and I said, well, I'm gonna walk you down to the firehouse. And he said, okay, come with us. Okay. So I held his hand, and
you have twins who are in that kindergarten class, but they're in the afternoon program.
Thank God. My twins are in the afternoon kindergarten, yes. So they weren't in the building. They were safe at home. So that was a blessing.
You must feel so lucky.
Yes. That's overwhelming relief, luck, grace. I mean, yes, absolutely.
Rob, you got to the scene, and your wife was okay, but then you had the job of going into that school.
When we arrived at the scene, the emergency services were set apart from the officers on the scene, and those brave men and women were protecting Barbara and the children who hadn't emerged yet. Because we were still in a lockdown mode, we didn't quite comprehend what was happening. We knew
you didn't know if the shooter was waiting
was
somewhere.
alive or had been killed or was dead by some other means. And it wasn't until we got word that there might be deceased inside, and that actually some of the firefighters' relatives might be deceased inside, that we realized that we needed to bring this to a new level.
When did you realize that what you thought was a rescue operation was a recovery operation?
Those men and women from the state and from the town and from other local law enforcement had been holding their ground at the front of the building. When he came over, he had a tear in his eye, and we looked over and we saw those people who looked like they could handle anything with the armor on and being able to handle a situation that they've probably done before, fall down on their knees and start weeping. It was the denial. We're going to be treating these adults, these maybe parents that came to work, or maybe the teachers were taking to another area or something, and then it began to dawn on everyone that these were children also.
How do you move forward from just experiencing the sheer, I guess, devastation of knowing that there are children in there that you couldn't help?
I do believe that through tears and through sharing and through comfort and support, that there will be a bright day. The first night I came home, I asked Daniel, "Do you remember anything? Do you want to talk about anything?" And he said, as only an 8-year-old can see in through their eyes, that the badness is gone. The man is no longer here, and that a new day is tomorrow.